Hello and welcome along to On the Whistle. We are Africa's biggest football braai, and boy oh boy do we have the coals nice and hot and smouldering for you today. We have a very special guest in Arafat Haji, the Vice President of Yanga, the Young Africans from Tanzania. Arafat, we'll get to you in a minute, so thank you for joining us. And for those out there who are listening, please don't forget to message us at our social media accounts, OTW_podcast on Twitter and Instagram. And of course, you can find us at YouTube at the On the Whistle podcast and Facebook. Just search for that. Really easy. Joining me today to speak to Arafat is the one and only Francis Nkwain, our sports media executive in Yaoundé, Cameroon. And of course, Alasdair Howorth, the one, the only, the young buck. We love having you here. Our cross-platform, multi-talented producer, journalist, and part-time host trying to get me out. Guys, we have a very special podcast ahead of us. I hope you both are well.
Doing very well, Zayn. An absolute pleasure being around the braai with the family again, and a real honor to be in the presence and company of Arafat, who is one of those people we've admired from afar for many years. And congratulations to you, first of all, for the treble win.
Zayn, this is a hard podcast for me as someone from Kenya to have a conversation about the success in Tanzania of a really good football club. It hurts. I'm not gonna lie, but nonetheless, I'm happy Arafat's agreed to join us today.
Absolutely, and this is what I was building up. Drum roll, please. Our treble winner, our man from the Young Africans, Yanga, Arafat Haji, the vice president of the club, the man who makes the hard decisions, the man who's there to lift the trophies, and the man who's going to go for another treble next year with this amazingly talented team. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much, Zayn, Francis, and Alasdair. I'm not sure if you have noticed the interesting part about this team that I'm being interviewed with today. Zayn, your second name matches exactly like our former coach,
Yes, it does.
Nasreddine Nabi.
Well, we're prophets, prophets in a way that we take you to the future. And I have to ask you about that because Arafat, obviously, this is an incredible period for your club. It is one that has seen great glory that's built on hard work. But I have to ask you, I mean, really, Yanga and Simba, your arch rivals, have emerged over the last half decade, almost seemingly from nowhere to be challenging with the very best on the continent. We had Simba beating Al Ahly a couple of years ago and Yanga reaching the CAF Confederation Cup final. What has led to this revival, in a sense, of Tanzanian football?
Well, again, thank you very much for this honor of inviting me to this podcast. And most importantly is being able to speak about the Tanzanian football outside our usual perimeters that the football is spoken, in Tanzania. So it's definitely a warm pleasure for me to be here. Talking of Tanzanian football, especially touching base on the two major clubs in Tanzania, both clubs date back in 1930s, where Yanga was born in February 1935, and later on, a year later, Simba was established. Almost 88 years of existence. But both clubs have not been able to, I would say, in the past they were, but over the last 2 or 3 decades, the clubs have not been able to hit the highest level in the continental football. Over recent years, we have seen major investments in the Tanzanian football within the region, especially East Africa and I would rather say Sub-Saharan Africa. The Tanzania NBC Premier League is the only league that is broadcasted on each and every game during the season. So, and that was gradually built up over the last 10 years when we saw Azam Media coming on board to invest in the Tanzanian media industry, but with concentration in Tanzanian football. That gave clubs an opportunity to start getting an extra revenues, to start investing and recruiting players outside Tanzania, but getting interest from various countries across the continent watching our league, and thus the emergency and seeing our league now, our teams being popular around this side of the world, especially from the sub-Saharan part of Africa. However, with our team, Yanga to be specific, and definitely I won't be talking about Simba because they've got a lot to learn from us.
Getting in the shots early.
Oh, there's fighting talk right there. Where's Dylan Kerr when we need him? The Maromo Gallants coach who used to be out coaching Simba and friend of the show. Where's he to defend the Simba honor?
He will definitely tell you the same, because we showed who we are when we met him in Tanzania, and then we met him in South Africa. We really showed him what Yanga is. And during his record in Tanzania, he never won against us, and until now he has never won against Yanga.
Listen, we always say we round the braai, and this is football's biggest braai, but we are cooking, we are smoldering, and you are just the right person to be sitting at the top table with us, Arafat. But I have
Thank
to
you very
ask
much,
you,
Nabbi.
what are the building blocks to a successful team and a league when there previously was one? I mean, what was it that was done to give Yanga the best opportunity to succeed and build what would be fair to say a dynasty, which you currently have?
I'll take you back around 2018 2019 season. Yanga went through an extremely tough financial conditions, where the club was surviving through donations from its fans and members. Fans would mobilize donations across our branch network to make sure that the team survives. The team is able to travel in various regions in the country. So during that time, around 2018 2019 season, a group of few elites started to mobilize fellow elite members to see how they can help the club get out of that situation. And that's when the likes of myself and other elite members in terms of various places from Tanzania thought and decided that it is the right time now for us to stop helping the club outside and rather getting into the club to see how we can help the transformation. And we went into the elections in 2019. We had a leadership elected by the members of the club. Our system then allowed every member of the club to attend the meeting and elect chairperson, deputy chairperson, and other board members. And so from there, that's when we started to draw the map of how do we get this club out of here? The club with a very strong roots, a very strong history in the country. Being in that situation, it was awful, and everyone said no, we should never go back to that situation. And then from there we started to draw the map, as I said, started to identify which are the potential revenue lines that we can explore to see how the club survives and being able to run on its own rather than depending on few sponsors or few people who will be getting the money from their pockets to help the club survive. Before I proceed, you know that one good thing about these two Tanzanian clubs here, for Tanzanians, these clubs are like a religion. So people believe and have strong beliefs in these clubs. And in a family, when you see a family of a Yanga, it will definitely be throughout everyone in the family will be a Yanga member. So that's how deep these clubs are here. So from there, then we started one of the line item. We said the club has got a potential of members of around almost 30 million potential members in Tanzania. By
30
then,
million. That's
30
huge.
million. That's very, very huge. So, and by then our population in Tanzania was at around 55 million, 52 million Tanzanians. So, we started to identify the revenue lines, who are the potential long-term partners in terms of sponsors, and then for the first time in 2019, we saw this club coming out with its own replica kits being sold in the market. Prior to that, the club never sold replicas to the market. It was just depending on few business tycoons in the country to just give kits to the team and then person B and sell them off to the market without the club earning anything. So to some extent, individuals were benefiting, but the club was never benefiting from its own source of revenue. And then gradually we started to bring on board potential sponsors. This is what I'm trying to say is the success that we achieved this season was a project that started from 2019 and definitely and until now in 2022 season 2023 we reaped the fruits of the investments that we had done. So we brought on board a sponsor who is a business tycoon in Tanzania, GSM group of companies. We enhanced our contract from our main sponsor, SportPesa, and then Azam Media came on board with a very, very lucrative deal by then in Tanzania, which was almost by then it was almost $20 million for 10 years sponsorship. It's a yeah. So that's to provide and give the club stability in terms of
That's a great
future
cash
cash
injection.
flows and revenues. SportPesa also came on board,
Mm.
almost tripled the amount of sponsorship that they were giving 5 years ago. We saw the likes of GSM, and then from there we said, okay, now it's time to do the transformation of the club. And we looked around the model of ownership of the clubs in Tanzania. We researched and we came up with a plan that we partner with La Liga to help us in giving us the experience on how such clubs are being run through La Liga in Spain. And through La Liga, we partnered with Sevilla. They helped us in how we can run our transformation, which modality of transformation suits Yanga. As I said, Yanga is originally or was originally owned by its members. A member pays the annual subscription of before we changed the constitution. It was 12,000 shillings per annum, which is around $5 per annum. Until when in 2020, when we changed the constitution, we doubled it to $10 per annum, where a member pays a contribution. And we thought, okay, how do we, as part of the transformation, it had its own pillars. We had funds engagement, we had football development.
So the core of what the core of your funding is obviously split between corporate sponsorship, TV rights, but talk us through a little bit about how this model works for fans and what they pay and what they get and how you keep them putting the money in, because some fans might be sitting there going, hang on, why are we giving you money when you've got all this money coming in from everywhere else? So how they buy into what you're doing at Yanga.
Our model, which we adopted, we've got almost 900 branches across Tanzania, and our model is for a branch to qualify, it needs to have a minimum of 100 active members, a minimum of 100 active members for that branch to qualify being classified as a branch. So what do we do to this branch to remain active, for them to keep on paying their membership fees? We have given branches voting rights for their president, vice president, and 5 executive members to represent the club. I'll speak later on the investment model that we have adopted to run. So these members, branches, they are also elect branch leaders. Each branch is entitled to elect 5 leaders who will represent the branch into the general annual meeting, and these members who are elected at branch levels are having voting rights to choose, to elect the leaders for the club, and hence they remain active because they are the ones making decision on who should be the leader of the club. And our elections are held after every 4 years. But remember, I said in Tanzania, these clubs are like a religion. So people believe and have faith in their clubs. But the interesting part is our ownership structure is 51% over 49%. 49% belongs to investors, and 51% belongs to the funds, or members to be precise. So through the membership fee you pay, the $10, for instance, that you pay, you are automatically a shareholder of the club. So that's how these members are obliged to keep on paying for their membership fees. And the 49% that is left for the members, we had categorically put it that no one investor can own more than 12.25% of the club value. So a minimum of 4 investors are required to be in the club. This all to make sure that the club does not shift from its original structure of members being the owner of the club and letting it slip to other people's hand, to maintain that structure. And this is why in Tanzania we call it Club ya Wananchi, meaning the club that is owned by the people.
You see, Arafat, if I may interject, it's like it's very rare we get somebody on this show and we fall silent. It's beautiful to hear you speak. I'm a big advocate for the introduction of business into football, at least the thinking behind it. And I think one of the challenges we've had as Africans is we've had more heart than head in our clubs. And so, like you say, football is a religion across our continent. And when I hear you speak, I think about a country like mine. I come from Cameroon, and we have these mythical clubs that just haven't taken the time out to build structures that respond to the need and that can galvanize a fan base that actually exists. My question to you is, we're talking about 2018, 2019. We're 4 years since then. To see such transformation in a short time, my question is two pronged. Was this surprising to you how effective the strategy you proposed in 2019 has been in terms of the results you've had on the pitch and off the pitch in terms of galvanizing your fan base? Because something you touched on, which I want to allude to as well, is the question of merchandise. I think a lot of our clubs fail because they miss the price points and they miss the access points to purchase. The second prong of my question is, beyond the 4 years that you had, maybe from 2019 to present, what is the vision beyond this success of this year, maybe over the next 10 years, for a club like Yanga, not just within the region, maybe internationally, like crossing your borders. And why not? Looking at what FIFA is trying to do, we've got the African Super League that is being tossed into the pot. We've got the FIFA, what do they call that thing now again, Alistair? Club World Cup. Are these kind of things fitting into your ambition beyond the present? I know it's a bit much, I've had to say, but help us.
Well, I'll start from the first question on how we identified those opportunities. And this is again something what we worked on, and maybe this will help, as you said, other African countries. We did our research, and in Tanzania, especially on the to touch on the subject of replicas. When we said that there's an opportunity in selling our own replicas, we analyzed how our people, in terms of what is it that they can afford, how what brand can we bring into the market, and our firms can outright feel that they can afford. And I'll give you a very interesting story on that when we started. And you'll be surprised to note that we are not wearing Nike, Puma, Umbro, none of these that we are wearing. It's a brand that was made by a local supplier, one of which also, after seeing the numbers, he then also decided to be part of our sponsor. So we have a custom made based on what our market can afford. And in 2009, when we launched our very first official kit, we thought this would be, whatever we launched would be very expensive to our people. And then we said, okay, let's do two types of replicas. We do one higher end, and second on a low end where everyone can afford. Immediately when we brought second class replicas, it didn't move in the market. Everybody said, no, we want
We want
the same quality, the higher quality. So as of now, we are only bringing single quality type of replicas, but which are affordable, our people can afford, but with quality. And I'm sure Ali has been following up. All our kits that we have been issuing for the last 4 years are coming with a story of the club. Each kit that we are coming out in the market comes out with a story. For instance, one of our replica kit, one of the kit that we have sold in this season was having signatures of all our club legends, so that everyone who has been supporting Yanga, from the people who are 80 of 60, 70s of years of age, young guys, everyone feels that they want to buy that kit because they feel the history. The other design was, as part of our transformation, is to make sure that we're bringing close our branches. So we came up with a concept of branch network, where every of our branch was featured in our kit. And then our third kit was talking about the history of the country, key areas of the country. That was also playing part in advertising the country, tourism. So everyone felt that whenever they're wearing that kit, they felt something in their selves, and the pride of wearing the kit for their club. So every year we have been doing that to make sure that we are maintaining the demand in the market. And in the history of Tanzanian football, this year when we were playing our CAF group stage, we were required by the regulations of CAF not to wear a betting company. So we decided to design a new kit specifically for the CAF competitions with another sponsor higher. And that kit was sold at around 50,000 Tanzanian shillings, close to $22. We have never sold a kit in Tanzania at $20+. It was never done before. And immediately when we brought the kit, we brought them as a teaser, with a very small amount of around 25,000 kits. Overnight, they were all sold out. So immediately the next few weeks, we had to make sure we are importing additional kits because the demand was huge. So that was also testing the market. How would market react when we bring something like this? And every year when we're bringing this, because people have already seen the quality, they've already seen the beauty of the concepts that we are selling to them, they are always making sure that they are the first. And from the day we started launching our kits, the first day is always a chaos. We sell on average 100,000 kits on the first day of launching. In terms of our vision, as I said, it was a project which started 4 years ago, and our vision, which is also under our president's vision of the club, is to see the younger African Sports Club become a powerhouse in African football. That's why we have been signing players across the continent. We are now going to invest on a very large, state of the art, the only owned best football stadium in the country, a project that we're going to start soon, with a capacity of around 20,000 seaters, but a very modern facility to be built on our Jangwani areas where our club was started. It's at the heart of the city, so that we make sure that the club can be financially stable, has got very stable financial lines, as I mentioned earlier. This will enable us to now continue with our journey of transformation, but making sure we keep on attracting talents across Africa and being able to compete in Africa. We went to the final this year. It's not easy. On our very first year of going into the Confederations Cup, and straight going to the final, it was never done before in Tanzania, and that because we built a squad of players that have got hunger, a squad of players that have got motivation, the squad of players that value the history of the club, to be among the history makers of the club and take the club to the top level. Our goal, our vision, is to see Yanga now competes regularly in the African continental football, but we don't want to end there. We are very much having the Club World Cup in horizon. We want to make sure that we improve the value of the club, we attract more sponsors, especially multinational sponsors. We have been doing media tours wherever we are going during these competitions, to make sure that we advertise, we promote the club, so that we are able to attract more sponsors. We get the people who are not even following the club to start following the club. You would have seen, I'm not sure if Ali had shared the pictures when we did our parade. We mobilized the highest ever football parade done in East Africa, or rather in sub-Saharan Africa, and we did it twice in the same week. And each day, what that we did, the turnout was massive, very huge. That's what we are trying to build, the powerhouse in Africa.
And I mean, seeing the images were just incredible. Of kind of, we were joking in the group chat about how Zayn was busy. He was covering the Manchester City parade, and we were
An
saying that,
unforgettable experience.
yeah, and we were saying the Yanga bus parade makes Man City look like they're in a village. You know, they're just doing the village tour
But,
compared to Yanga.
but Ali, and I know you're going to come with your question now, so mine's more of a comment. Having been in Manchester, caught up in that treble win, Francis. Francis, are you there? Francis? Hello, Francis. Did City win
My
a treble?
camera is stuck. Camera is stuck.
Your cameras.
Proceed.
Oh, what timing! What timing! What you don't know, Arafat, is that Francis is a huge Man U fan. So City success. I'm just throwing a bit of shade at him.
He's
Throwing a bit of
like
shade
me.
at him. Well,
That's very
another
harsh.
podcast is there, are there any real City fans, or have they just emerged? But anyways, we won't
That's
go
a
there.
topic for every day.
But what I would say is, listen, it was a pleasure to be in Manchester, seeing the parade, seeing the players enjoying it, seeing the blue half celebrate something. I mean, Manchester's got to be the football capital of the world, given the success you've had United and City and the dominance we're now seeing in the domestic game and also filtering into Europe. But what I thought could have been maybe done a little better was giving the fans a longer time to celebrate. And that's when Ali was sharing the pictures of what you guys were doing. And I think connecting with the fans, I know some of them are members who pay, but that's invaluable in getting the next generation of fan to wear your colors and not the other side of the city. But that was my comment, and I just wanted to compliment you on that. So, Ali, you probably have a question.
But
I
Zayn, please,
expect.
sorry, Ali,
Oh no, no!
forgive
Oh
me.
geez, Francis is in now. Here we go.
Right? No, no, no.
I don't
I
need to
want to
speak.
pick
I'll
up on
just
the
log
point
off.
that you made. No, it's just to pick up on the point that you made. I'm a firm
Mm,
believer that the world has a lot to learn from Africa. And in that moment, those were one of those moments that I loved that we were sharing that in that group. And I was sharing that with the people I was with where I was, and we were all looking from the outside in and saying to
mm,
ourselves, there are these tremendous opportunities for the powers that be, so to speak, to understand that we, first of all, must like what it is that we have. And I think the magic around Yanga and Simba, forgive me for saying this, and the energy that they bring into Tanzanian football is
mm-hmm,
a sense of ownership that people do love the game. And they
mm-hmm,
love the game that they consume locally in the same way, with the same effervescence that they love the game that has been force fed to us, that we are told this is the best coming from outside in. And I think that we have a lot of lessons to learn in how we also export ourselves and what it is that we have to offer to a wider audience beyond our shores. You know, you spoke of your partnership with La Liga, and I hear La Liga all over the place in Africa. We travel a lot, um, and I find it sad that houses like the Premier League cede ground to operations like La Liga, who, in spite of the baggage that they carry with things like racism, when we look at just the season with Vinicius Jr. and their responses to it, they're still able to connect with our continent in a way that the number one league in the world fails to do. And so, very often, it's a source of frustration for me because you look at them and you say, it's not because we don't have our own, but we choose to consume your product because it's nice. But there's something you can learn as well from us, like Zayn just said, how you connect with fans differently, because that is one of the great problems the Premier League is suffering from. There is this disconnect between fans and their clubs, the lack of feeling of ownership, which they don't have in Germany. The Germans have this model where their fans feel as entitled to the successes and failures of their clubs as the players and the ownership. So forgive me if I ran my mouth.
And I would want to echo what Francis has just said, that and again, when we did this parade for the first time ever in Tanzania, everybody was shocked, especially on Twitter, where people were like, "Is this really Africa? Is this happening in Africa?" Coach Pizzo was amazed. He was like, he was very impressed that such events can be taking place in Africa. And on the very same season, Pizzo had to travel all the way from South Africa to attend our Wananchi Day in Dar es Salaam. You can imagine on such an event where we normally kickstart our season, the capacity of the stadium is 60,000, and we are able to fill in that stadium with 60,000 younger fans alone. So, yes, as Francis said, there are elements of what people can learn from this part of the world, and see that there is that potential. And talking of La Liga, they are very active on the ground in Africa, trying to get people to follow their league, trying to get closer to the African continent, selling various products, and that's when we partnered with them.
Yeah, and Arafat, one of the things that I kind of want to know then, and again, this might be a frustrating question for you, is, Yanga have done so well, but your success in many ways wouldn't exist in the same way without Simba. Because if you were just one team steamrolling the league every year, say like in Bayern Munich in Germany, the league becomes really boring and becomes uninteresting, and even the fans of that club itself turn away. So for you, how do you see Simba and that rivalry? Kind of, what is the relationship like? Because obviously you're two teams that are so big, and as you reminded us, you were the first one, even if by a few months, and Simba's the little brother, and you've seen that success, but you also kind of need each other, because you need that rivalry to keep the league itself and Tanzanian football kind of keeping on growing.
One, I must applaud Azam Media, as I mentioned earlier, for investing in our league. Their investment has enabled not only Yanga and Simba, but all the clubs to be able to have financial stability. Back in years, you would only see Yanga and Simba signing foreign players, but now even the team that is getting relegated is able to sign foreign players. So that's a development, and that's bringing the competitiveness and competition within the league. And us at Yanga, we have always enjoyed beating Simba when they're best, rather than when they're not doing very well. And we always pray and wish that all the teams participating in the league are stable and are able to bring competition. And that is why I believe without this strong competition in our own league, we wouldn't have been able to compete in continental level for us to have reached to the level we reached this year. That is reflecting the investments that were done by various clubs in our league, not only Simba. We saw Azam last year signing very good players, very talented players. We saw the emergence of a new club like Singida United, uh, Singida Big Stars, sorry, formerly Singida United. They were able to bring competition into the league. They were able to challenge all the big clubs in the league. So that's very healthy for our league, but for football as well. And it's giving that competing edge and sharpness whenever we are going to play at international level. So definitely, without a very strong league, we wouldn't be able to challenge the big names in Africa. Nobody thought that we would be able to beat Mazembe the way we beat them home and away. Mazembe were never beaten at their home. We went in DRC and we beat Mazembe at their home. We beat them at home 3-1. We went and beat them at in Congo. We played Rivers in Nigeria. They were never defeated in their country before. We did that this season. So it's a reflection of the size, the types of investments that are happening in Tanzanian football.
I wanted to ask a question about, you speak about investment, and you touched on the fact that you're looking to build your own stadium. 25,000 you said, or 20,000?
20,000 seaters.
Okay. So, what is the thinking behind your infrastructure play? For example, you have your training facility associated to this, or will you be using the stadium as your training center as well as the stadium for the games? And why just 20,000 when you have so many fans?
Well, the thinking is I would start with our vision that we have. One of our driver that we want to build for the future success of the team is to invest in our youth development. So the thinking of coming up with our own facility, and definitely you would ask yourself why a 20,000 seater if we're having that huge fan base. In our research that we did was on average when we play league games, we are normally getting fans around, save for the derby. I mean, derby against Simba and against Azam, we are normally getting around 15 to 20,000 spectators on a regular day. During derbies, we go as far as 60 plus thousand. And for us now, we thought let's start somewhere at 20,000, and for any other bigger games, we'll be using the national stadium. That's the thinking. But another thinking is we have got another huge plot that we are having slightly outside the outskirts of the city of Dar es Salaam. That's where we are going to, in future, put a very huge facility, but that will be catered specifically for development of our youth, our female teams, our younger future potential young African players. So that's basically the thinking of what we are trying to put at our main plot in Dar es Salaam at Jangwani.
And Arafat, this is incredible. Like kind of Francis said earlier, this journey from just like I remember in what 2018 it was Yanga losing in the group stage of the Confederation Cup to Gormaya, was losing home and away, and then we look at the difference between the two teams now. I mean, again, I won't say too much as a very sour Kenyan,
Declare
but
an interest. Declare an interest.
but kind of for you guys looking forward, you're seeing, the pursuit of trying to see success on the continent. I did want to ask, one thing that we've talked a lot about on the show, even before it was kind of formally announced, was the idea of the African Super League. And this idea of kind of rebranding the way in which African football is kind of like we've talked about being repackaged to the world. But one of the things we've seen is worries about it being a bit of a closed shop. And then even this year starting, seeing that potentially Simba is being put into that into the Super League and Yanga isn't. And obviously from a CAF perspective, especially when they're just kicking off, they can't have more than one team from a country. For you guys seeing, this as the team that we've won the Premier League twice in a row, we've won the cup, we've won the Community Shield, we've been in the Confederation Cup final. Simba haven't been there. How do you feel about the Super League and potentially what could happen in terms of you not being a part of it, particularly at the beginning?
Well, it has always been our wish. A moment Super League was announced that it would take place in Africa. We have done, or we have tried to see how we as Younger can participate. But as you said, from CAF's point of view, is they were looking at for the last 3 years, which are the teams that featured very well in the continent, and definitely we were not on on top at that time. And during that particular time, it's when we started our project of rebuilding the club. Uh, Fortunate enough, our neighbors, they were playing at that level. They were always in the quarterfinals of the competition. However, nobody is clear on whether it will be there or not. Will it take place this year? There are still other discussions being around that they will change the model into instead of 8 teams, now thinking of 24 teams, which will be played in various blocks for the confederations. For instance, there'll be a block of Sekafa for East African teams to compete in qualifying to the Super League. And we believe with what CAF have recently seen in the African football, maybe that would be the approach that they would take. Uh,
But
if
Arafat,
you
let's bring in the fan perspective. The Green Army walking on the streets of Dar es Salaam. They're going to be saying, and I see that smile, the best team in the country is not in the Super League. They're going to be saying that, right?
in Algeria, they people in Algeria, they also said that the best team was denied of the cup. We showed Africa that we were the best and we deserved to win the cup during that final. We were robbed, and it is what the game brought us.
He's having none of it.
Oh, Arafat is good. He's good. He's good. He just sidestepped that really nicely. No, but you make some really good points when you were just speaking early on. It's a fascinating time, in all honesty, And this conversation around the Super League, I think no matter what, it will take shape in some form over the coming decade. Let's put it that way. And it will grow. And I think it's nice to know that clubs like yours will most definitely be involved in some shape, not just out of desire, but because of a right, because you deserve to be amongst the elite of African football. And to watch the progression is truly humbling. It really is. As people who are involved in the game, and I travel a lot across Africa. We were just recently in Rwanda, and the conversation around Tanzanian football was raised with some of our Rwandan counterparts, because we were talking about the element, which I want to ask you, of a sense of a Pan African play that connects African talent to itself, first of all, before we look at the outside world. So, to that point, um, your club, you had, I'm right in saying you had, a Tunisian coach. Am I right?
A Tunisian, yes.
Yes.
Nasreddine Nabi.
Yes,
He's
yes, your
like
cousin.
me.
Yes, your
He's
first
amazing.
cousin, right?
It's just in Tunisia they don't spell it like we do in South Africa. He's
It
only
doesn't
one
matter
letter.
how it's spelled. It's your brother. So the point I was trying to, or what I was trying to raise with you is, as a club, how do you see yourselves accompanying the mission that is the desire of many Africans to see our borders almost come down a little bit, because even the play with the Super League and with CAF is this ability for us to see ourselves as one. You mentioned the fact that now even the club being relegated in Tanzania is in the position to buy non-nationals and invite other players from other nationalities to come and play in Tanzania. How does Yanga position itself in this particular narrative? What is your ambition around the ability for a Cameroonian, a South African, a Kenyan to see themselves also saying, I want, or I believe I can go and play, I can have a place in that club, I can support, buy its merchandise, whether or not I could go and open up a branch with $10 a piece. I'm sure I could get 100 people together and we start a Yanga branch here in Yaoundé in no time. But how do you, as a leader of a club, see your club playing its part in this exportation of this sense of Pan Africanism that a lot of clubs are in the position to lead the agenda on?
Very, very interesting question and point, Francis. If I can take you back in history, when this club was started, according to various literatures in Tanzania, Yanga was started by the liberation of freedom fighters in Tanzania, and to mark that, the place where I said we're going to build our own stadium is called Kaunda. Kaunda was Kenneth Kaunda from Zambia, former Zambian president. So that was because of the history and the part our club played in liberation of African countries. But fast forward, and again, I think among the very few leagues in Africa, our teams are allowed to sign up to 12 foreign players, and all 12 foreign players. Sorry, 12 cannot play, but 11 can play on a single game, with one remaining on the bench. That to bring that taste of African football, to attract more players from various countries in Africa, getting the permits. There are no limitations or stringent rules or regulations in getting the permits for other African players to come and play for Young Africa or any team in Tanzania. When we were playing in CAF Confederations Cup, when we were moving around in other countries. For instance, I'll give you an example. When we went to Congo, we opened branches there in Congo, members branches in Congo. And people are requesting for merchandise to be sent to Congo. I'll give you another example. When we were going to Nigeria at the airport, we met a guy and asking, which team are you? We told him we are Young African. The guy was very excited knowing that we are young, and we asked him why. He said, you guys have made me rich. In every game that you are playing, I bet in your favor.
That's
And I've
good.
always been winning the bets because of you. So you can see that the continent, because of the type of players, the players which we are signing from different countries in Africa, they take that that content back at their home in Uganda. There are fans who have opened branches. I've met a leader of our branch from Uganda. He came to attend our first leg of the final in Dar es Salaam. He said that they've got like 2,000 members in Uganda for Yanga. They've got shops selling Yanga merchandise. And in our planning, we are evolving and trying to now adopt the pre-season tours across the region, rather than just doing the pre-seasons at home or going outside the continent of Africa. We are coming with a plan of making sure our pre-seasons are done within the region, so that we can mobilize new fans, we can get new members from different countries. We've got players coming from as far as West Africa. We've got players coming from Congo. We have got players coming from Zambia, from Uganda. Unfortunately, now we don't have anyone from Kenya, Alan. Uh, So we are trying to build that Pan-African club of a style where Africans can be supporting football within their own continent. They can be following the football within the countries that are nearby. And again, I would give that due credit to Azam again. Azam Media is now being broadcasted in Kenya, Uganda, Zambia, Malawi, Congo,
Even in Cameroon, we won.
even in Cameroon, you see. So people are watching the football across. I've got friends who are using my online credentials to watch Azam through Azam app from other countries where Azam is not there. People are gradually starting. Back then, people were not able to watch because our own broadcasters were not broadcasting African football. They were selectively broadcasting some leagues, but now we've got broadcasters who are broadcasting our own leagues in Africa. So that brings appetite, but you attract more players because players want to be seen playing.
Yes,
In
they
a
do.
league that
Their families want to watch them
exactly
play.
people watching them play, so they look at which league is being broadcasted. I said over 300 games are being broadcasted live. We are on the very last day of the league. All games are being played at the same time, all are being broadcasted live. So you can imagine the amount of investment that has been
Investment.
done.
Yeah,
Being able to
it's
broadcast
big.
such number of games attracts
It's impressive.
attracts people to come and
So as they broadcast the games more and more and people
eh,
watch, do you have any ambition? Because now the Premier League have said, as of this season, they can take 4 players straight from anywhere in the world. You can put them into a Premier League club, up to 4 players. You don't need to pass their home office tests for the visa. Haven't played for your national team X amount of time. If the club says we like this player, we're having them. Are we going to be seeing any former younger players making the move into the Premier League? Like young Kennedy Musonda, the boy is banging in goals, huh?
yeah, we've got Kennedy, but we've got another very young talent. I'm not sure if you have heard of Clement Mzize. Very young. He's just 19 years of age. We were having plans of pushing him to in France. Unfortunately, the visa process could not get the documentation, the visa on time, and the offer slightly was pushed over to next season. So we've got these couple of young talents within the club. As you mentioned, one is Kennedy. We've got the our central defenders, brilliant. One of our success in this season was the build-up play from our central defenders. Yeah, so we've got those talents that we believe. The only problem that I'm seeing that we are, especially from East Africa, unable to push players to Europe is most of the European clubs they were not looking in East Africa. Yeah, they were never looking in East Africa. So I think maybe with what we had shown in this continental football would now start attracting European clubs to start looking in East Africa, possibly.
We'll block the road for them. We'll come first. We'll set it up, and then we'll give it.
Francis is always getting his way. He's coming in and making sure he's there.
No, it's very truly. It's been fascinating listening to you. You said the 6th of August. I'm gonna book a flight now.
And you will be my guest, my brother. On 6th of August, I want you to witness how
Oh,
we pack the stadium.
I'm gonna come. We'll definitely be there.
Thank you very much. You're very much welcomed.
I did hear we're invited to a party, and if there's a party, we're coming.
You are.
But we have to bring Courtney Freeze, who's not here today, our resident football expert. But my question is going to be nice and simple. I know we've only got a couple left before we have to wrap Arafat. But your coach Nasreddine Nabi, what is it that he's obviously no longer with you, but what has he done that made the team so successful? For those of us in the continent who'd be just maybe having one eye on Tanzanian football, what is it that he brought that made this team win a treble in back-to-back seasons?
Well, one, we should give credit to Nabi. Nabi is a very good coach. He is well experienced in African football, continental African football. He understands the conditions of our football in Africa. One of his key attributes in, or what helped our team was how he managed to motivate our players in terms of the opponents, in terms of which players should fit in which game, and being able to spend good time. Because and I maybe when you come during our on 6th, if you guys would come, I would also take you to our camping site. We've got one of the best camping site in there, very good facilities. That helped Nabi get to spend good preparation time with the team, getting to understand more of the players. But we challenged him to make sure that he becomes a history of the club by taking us to the top level of African football. And as a rule of any good dancer, a good dancer knows when to leave the stage. So that's Nabi.
Well, listen, I'm a bad dancer, so I never know when to leave the stage. But I will ask one more question. Where would you like to see him land next? What job, what task, what challenge? Where would you like to see him go to?
And may I also add, who would you like to come and dance after him?
We have already started looking for his replacement, and in the course of next week, we should be able to announce who would be taking the dance floor in place of Nasreddine Nabi. And definitely, Nabi deserves to be on top of the top teams in Africa. I'm sure with his qualification, his experience, he can coach any team in Africa if he is given time. You know, one of the challenge or problem that we have been having in, I can't say just Tanzania, but in African football is tolerance, to allow coaches have enough time to understand their teams, prepare their teams, prepare their players, and we gave him that. There was a time there was huge pressure on him. But we as leaders, we made sure that the pressure doesn't go to Nabbi or his team. We absorbed the pressure. We relieved him of the pressure from the fans, the members, the media, making sure that they don't, the pressure is not getting into them. They get to concentrate on their work. Everybody wanted Nabbi gone when we were about when we withdrew against the Club Africain during the group stage qualification. But we said, let's allow him time. Let's give him time. He is a good coach. He can get us to the next level. So that gave him confidence. We trusted him. He trusted us. And we together managed to cross that hurdle and went on to play the group stage. And finally, we played into the final of the CAF Confederations Cup.
Arafat, an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Thank you for the insight. Thank you for rolling with everything we threw at you. You know this is a braai, right? And there's lots of meat, there's lots of liquids, whatever you like, and there's just lots of good laughter and fellowship. So thank you for joining us on the pod. We're going to do our best to take you up on your kind offer, to be with you at some point this year, to see firsthand why Yanga have been so dominant in Tanzania and why you're building a team to be successful over the continent. Alasdair, Francis, always being great being with you guys as an incredible front three. Arafat, we hope to have you on again soon, and even more excitingly, we hope to be with you later this year. Good luck with everything.